The Grand Inquisitor was the leader of the Inquisitorius. He was a Pau'an from the planet Utapau and was introduced as the first Inquisitor ever seen on screen in the series Star Wars Rebels. His real name is unknown, but we know that he used to be a Jedi Temple Guard during the Clone Wars. During his time as a Jedi Knight, he started to harbor resentment toward the Order's action, particularly toward the Temple's chief librarian, Jocasta Nu, who repeatedly denied him access to certain data files in the Jedi archives, deeming him unworthy of the knowledge he sought. His disillusionment deepened during the trial of Ahsoka Tano, where he served as one of the Temple guards overseeing her unjust judgment when she was framed for the Jedi Temple bombing. These experiences chipped away at his faith in the Jedi Order, leaving him vulnerable to the lure of the dark side. After the fall of the Republic, he survived Order 66 and got approached by the Emperor to serve under the Inquisitorius, and through that gain access to the Jedi archives. As the Grand Inquisitor, he served directly under Darth Vader, becoming one of the Empire's most efficient tools in eradicating the Jedi. His intimate knowledge of his former comrades, learned from the Jedi Temple records that he could now access, made him a uniquely dangerous hunter. During his time as Inquisitor, he even got the chance to face and kill Jocasta Nu personally, the Jedi he despised so much. However, after beating her in a duel, his final blow was prevented by Vader as he still needed Nu alive. The pursuit he's most famous for, though, is that of Kanan Jarrus and his apprentice Ezra Bridger. Throughout several confrontations, although being superior in every way, he failed to capture or kill the duo. In a climactic duel on a Star Destroyer above Mustafar, Kanan defeated the Grand Inquisitor after reaching a moment of clarity in the Force, which guided Kanan to his victory over the superior Grand Inquisitor. After his defeat, the Grand Inquisitor chose to fall to his death rather than face Vader's wrath for his failure. Yet, even death couldn't free him. Darth Vader bound the Grand Inquisitor's spirit to a Jedi outpost on Tempest, forcing him to guard the site for eternity. Years later, Luke Skywalker encountered the fiery spirit of the Grand Inquisitor while searching for a new lightsaber. After a duel with Luke, he was defeated and the Grand Inquisitor's punishment continued. When the Pau'an begged for release, Darth Vader refused, leaving him imprisoned in his ghostly form to serve indefinitely. And that's where the story of the Grand Inquisitor ends, serving eternal punishment as his spirit is unable to pass into the Force. He's actually also one of my favorite characters in Rebels, as I really liked his appearance a lot, and found him a very intimidating and well-written villain for the first season. But more on that in this video about underrated characters. Barriss Offee was once a dedicated Jedi Padawan under Jedi Master Luminara Unduli. However, her journey toward becoming a Jedi Knight took a dark turn during the Clone Wars. Though a skilled healer and warrior, she grew increasingly disillusioned with the Jedi Order's involvement in the war, believing they had lost their way and become too aligned with the Republic's military interest and were no longer guardians of the peace. This growing resentment led her to orchestrate a bombing at the Jedi Temple, an act of protest against what she saw as the Jedi's hypocrisy. She then framed her close friend Ahsoka Tano for the attack, leading to Ahsoka's wrongful arrest and expulsion from the Order. After Anakin was able to track down Barriss as the assassin, she was arrested, but the damage had been done. During her trial, Barriss did not deny her actions, but instead used the opportunity to openly criticize the Jedi before some of the Republic's most powerful figures, including Chancellor Palpatine. Her words struck a nerve, as even some Jedi were beginning to question the Order's direction. Ultimately, she was found guilty and imprisoned, her fate left uncertain as the Clone Wars reached their conclusion. After that, the Clone Wars TV series was cancelled and it was replaced by Rebels, and for years, fans speculated about her whereabouts during and after Order 66, with many theorizing that she had been turned to the dark side. These theories were in 2014. For the longest time, people even thought that Barriss could be the seventh sister, as she was of the same species. In 2024, in Tales of the Empire, all those theories were finally addressed. Barriss had survived and was offered the path of the Inquisitorius. Following the rise of the Galactic Empire, she was approached in her cell by the fourth sister, Lyn Rakish, a former friend of her in the Jedi Order. Lyn reveals the fall of the Republic and gives her a choice: remain a prisoner or embrace the dark side and serve the Empire. Barriss agrees and is taken to Nur, where she encounters two other prospective Inquisitors. In a duel to the death, Barriss prevails, kills the other participants, and is thus made an Inquisitor after some encouragement by the Grand Inquisitor to leave the Jedi way. For a time, she served as a Jedi hunter, tracking down and eliminating survivors of Order 66. However, her heart was never fully in it. Unlike many of her fellow Inquisitors who reveled in their new power, Barriss remained conflicted. Over time, she began to see the Empire's cruelty firsthand, particularly in its violent treatment of civilians. As her doubts resurfaced, she found herself at a crossroads once again. Ultimately, Barriss could not continue serving the Empire. In a decisive moment, she turned against the Inquisitorius, denouncing her allegiance and escaping into exile. Rather than seeking revenge or redemption, she chose a different path, becoming a wandering healer. Using her knowledge of the Force and her skills as a medic, she traveled the Outer Rim, offering aid to those suffering under the Empire's rule. However, her past would not remain buried. Years later, her paths with the Empire would cross again while helping a family with a Force-sensitive child. The child was tracked down by the fourth sister, Lyn Rakish. Barriss then offered to distract the Inquisitor long enough for the family to escape, but is accidentally killed in the effort after trying to talk sense into Lyn. Barriss's death does lead Lyn to contemplate her path in the dark side, and it makes her turn her back on the Empire. Now, I wanted to talk a bit about Barriss, as I do have my opinions on this story of hers, and I've got to say, I'm not a fan of it. It's not bad, far from it, but it's just a bit boring and standard. Her turning her back again to the light after going down the Inquisitor's path and then just retreating after seeing the Empire commit atrocities is just a boring trait at this point. Also, I don't get her connection with Lyn, a character we've never seen before whom she supposedly just has this connection with. I would have much rather preferred her to cross paths with Ahsoka, a character we've seen having a connection with her, someone whom she had a deep friendship in the Clone Wars, and after getting bested by Ahsoka, she realizes how far she's strayed from her path. That way, her turn back to the light would have made a lot more sense, and would have been more emotionally satisfying for myself. Like, if they wanted to use Lyn, sure, but at least show us why they know each other and what their connection is. The way they did it, Lyn just doesn't spark any emotions from my side, and I just didn't care at all when she eventually turned. Let me know what you think. The first brother Marrok was a mysterious Inquisitor introduced in the Ahsoka series. His appearance was subject to a lot of confusion, as all Inquisitors at the point of A New Hope should have been wiped out already. His identity thus sparked a debate on a scale that hasn't been seen since the days of Supreme Leader Snoke's identity. Who was he? Is he Ezra? Is he Barriss Offee? Is he Starkiller? Or maybe is he freaking Petro, the youngling we see in the Clone Wars? The theories were flying, the shots were spinning, and the ultimate reveal, the first brother is friggin' nobody. Just like in the days of Rey and Snoke, all our theories were more wrong than my stock market predictions, and we're left with a shallow character with little information about him. Marrok himself was a humanoid warrior who was part of the Inquisitorius. He can be seen briefly in Barriss' arc in Tales of the Empire, and he also was only recently revealed to be the first brother. Initially, a Star Wars encyclopedia mistakenly identified the unnamed Inquisitor from Tales of the Jedi as the first brother. However, this was later corrected by an article on StarWars.com which confirmed that the first brother was actually Marrok. And it also made me name the other guy wrongly in this video I made. In a duel on Cetos, Marrok faced Ahsoka, where she ended his life, slashing him across the torso and reducing him to a cloud of green mist. This suggests that Marrok had died decades earlier, only to be resurrected by Night Sister magic to serve Morgan Elspeth's cause. Also, some trivia, as there's little else to talk about with him, Marrok's name and fate could carry deeper symbolic meaning. The name Marrok likely draws inspiration from the Arthurian legend of Sir Marrok, a knight who was transformed into a wolf by his wife, who had learned dark magic from the sorceress Morgan Le Fay. This connection is further reinforced as Morgan Elspeth, the Night Sister responsible for his resurrection, shares the same first name. Additionally, Marrok's wolf-like theme aligns with the broader mythological influence present in Ahsoka. Baylan Skoll and Shin Hati, who were working alongside Marrok, share their names with the wolves from Norse mythology, Skoll and Hati, who are destined to chase the sun and moon. So yeah, definitely Dave Filoni influence in there. The second sister was formerly the Jedi Padawan Trilla Siduri. After the fall of the Jedi Order, Trilla and her master Cere Junda hid a group of younglings from the Empire. However, her master Cere was captured when trying to lure the Empire away from the hiding spot, and was tortured into giving away the hiding location. The Empire eventually found Trilla and the younglings, captured her, and subjected Trilla to brutal torture. Feeling betrayed by her master Cere, who she blamed for her miserable state, Trilla succumbed to the dark side and became the second sister. As an Inquisitor, the second sister was probably the most ambitious and cruel Inquisitor of them all, taking great joy in tormenting her prey. Her most notable mission was the hunt for Cal Kestis, a fugitive Jedi who was also traveling with her former Master Seer. During their different encounters, Trilla succeeded in acquiring a holocron containing a list of Force-sensitive children, which could be a critical asset for the Empire. She brings the holocron back to the Fortress Inquisitorius, but is followed by Cal and Seer. In a final duel, she is beaten by Cal Kestis, who then recovers the holocron. With Trilla being beaten and at her weakest moment, she showed a rare moment of vulnerability and began to reconcile with Seer. However, before redemption could take root, Darth Vader arrived and executed her without hesitation, ending her life, and with that, probably the story of my second favorite Inquisitor aside from the Grand Inquisitor. Reva, also known as the Third Sister, was a youngling at the Jedi Temple during Order 66. She witnessed the slaughter of her fellow Jedi at the hands of Darth Vader and the 501st Legion. After being stabbed through the stomach by Vader, she somehow survives. This traumatic experience then shaped her path, leading her to become an Inquisitor. However, her only goal throughout all of it was vengeance against Vader himself. She appears notably in the Kenobi show and is widely agreed upon to be one of the most distracting factors in it. There, she obsessively hunts down Kenobi in order to get closer to Vader to get her revenge. Her ruthlessness for her goal even led her to stab the Grand Inquisitor and leave him for dead as she sought to prove herself worthy of Vader's trust. However, her ambitions unraveled when she finally confronted Vader on Jabim. The Dark Lord had known of her betrayal all along and easily overpowered her, not even feeling it to be worth it to draw his saber to best her. Also, there it is revealed that the Grand Inquisitor had somehow survived as well. Vader then stabs Reva yet again, just like years before during Order 66, and leaves. Now, if you were like me and were like, thank you, finally, she's dead, well, here's the curveball. She still didn't die, because stab wounds from a lightsaber in the Kenobi show are apparently just like getting punched once, and then after it hurting for some time, you can just get up again. Anyways, in her final act of vengeance, Reva with a stab wound flies across the galaxy to Tatooine and attempts to harm Luke Skywalker, whom she knows is Vader's son through pure convenience. But at the last moment, after having kidnapped Luke, she realized she was becoming just like Vader. Choosing a different path, she returned the boy unharmed and with Obi-Wan's guidance, let go of her hatred. What became of her after this redemption remains unknown, although I would certainly argue that her healing abilities should be studied by every Jedi that had ever lived. Lin Rakish was part of the Nogratu species and was prominently in the episodes with Barriss and was in the background of Kenobi as well. I'll keep it short, but as mentioned already, she was once a Jedi named Lin Rakish, and she shared a connection with Barriss Offee during the time of the Order. Somehow, she ends up as an Inquisitor and was instrumental in recruiting Barriss into the Inquisitorius. However, while Barriss ultimately rejected the Empire, Lin remained loyal. During a confrontation with Barriss, she accidentally gravely wounded her former friend. Overcome with guilt, Barriss pleaded with Lin to abandon the Inquisitorius, reminding her of the person she once was. Stricken with remorse, Lin made a life-altering decision. She left her Inquisitor lightsaber behind in the cave where their battle took place and carried Barriss's wounded body out, seemingly choosing to forsake the dark path she had followed for so long. The fifth brother was a former Jedi initiate from the planet Artemisium and grew disillusioned with the Jedi Order after witnessing the Republic's disregard for his homeworld. When the Galactic Senate approved the strip mining of Artemisium's resources, leading to the deaths of countless inhabitants, the fifth brother lost faith in the Jedi and their ideals. After the fall of the Republic, he willingly joined the Inquisitors, being entirely devoted to their cause. As part of the Inquisitorius, the fifth brother was a ruthless and relentless hunter. Among his targets were Jedi such as Eth Koth, Cal Kestis, and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Following the death of the Grand Inquisitor at the hands of the Ghost Crew, the fifth brother, alongside the seventh sister, was tasked with hunting the Spectre rebel cell. He clashed multiple times with Kanan and Ezra, as well as fighting Ahsoka on several occasions. Although his involvement in these duels were mostly just for the action scene, as he never really accomplishes anything aside from just being there and getting beaten, during his final encounter with the Ghost Crew on Malachor, the fifth brother, along with the seventh sister and eighth brother, engaged the rebels in battle. However, unbeknownst to them, Darth Maul was also on Malachor and had teamed up with the rebels. He is ultimately killed by Maul after getting disarmed by Ahsoka. Also, look at the Kenobi show fifth brother. Doesn't he look chonky? And why is he so short in live action? Anyways, I just like making fun of the Inquisitors' look in Kenobi, as they're truly terrible depictions. Moving on. The sixth brother was once a Jedi named Bill Valen. Early in his training with the other Inquisitors, Darth Vader severed his lower arm during a training session, teaching him a harsh lesson about the program he had devoted himself to, and also further pushing him down the dark side. He participated in several missions, including a hunt for the Jedi Padawan Farron Barr on Mon Cala alongside the ninth sister and 10th brother. However, Barr was able to trigger the inhibitor chips in the clone purge troopers accompanying the Inquisitors, causing them to turn against the Inquisitors, and forcing them to fight them instead of allowing Barr to escape. In a panic, he slashed off his fellow Inquisitor, the ninth sister's leg, in order to escape. Later, the sixth brother traveled to the moon Rada, tracking a rumored Jedi. To lure the Jedi out of hiding, he started killing some of the farmers and taped himself doing it. His plan worked, and his target revealed herself to be none other than Ahsoka Tano. Despite being unarmed, Ahsoka was able to hold her ground against him and then used the Force to pull the kyber crystals from his lightsaber, causing the spinning lightsaber to overload and explode. The resulting blast killed the sixth brother instantly. Ahsoka later purified the crystals from his weapon, using them to craft her iconic white lightsabers. The seventh sister was a Mirialan Inquisitor and was rumored to be Barriss for the longest time when she was first revealed. As a former Jedi, she was trained by Jedi Master Aayla Secura before falling to the dark side after surviving Order 66 and joining the Inquisitorius. Early in her time as an Inquisitor, she developed a rivalry with the 13th sister, often engaging in sparring matches during training sessions. In one of these training sessions, the 13th sister threw spider bats at her with the Force. This inspired her to start using Seeker droids to help her out on her missions. She also used the Seeker droids once to electrocute the 13th sister as revenge for her getting injured during one of the sparring matches, and enjoyed her sister's pain a lot. After the death of the Grand Inquisitor, the 7th sister worked closely with the 5th brother, primarily targeting the Ghost Rebel crew. She frequently clashed with Kanan Jarrus and Ezra Bridger, however failed most of the time to make an impact. It even got to the point where it felt like Kanan and Ezra were fighting her and the 5th brother to warm up every week, like the script kinda went like this. Ghost Crew needs something on random planet. They fly there to get it, they find it, and then Team Rocket, consisting of the 5th brother and 7th sister, show up. They fight each other and the Ghost Crew escapes. I kid you not, this rough storyline appeared like 4 times in Rebels. These two were such a joke in my eyes and really didn't have any menacing presence. As Spider-Man would say, they are literally your random villain of the week. You need to fight so there's something to do. Just like the 5th brother, she met her end on Malachor after trying to engage Ezra and Maul. Maul easily lifts her up with the Force, holding her there for Ezra to strike. After Ezra hesitates, Maul throws his saber at her, cutting her upper body in half, instantly killing her. Now, please like this video to help this video get a boost. The 8th brother was a Tyrellian Django Jumper, who was likely also a Jedi in the past. After the death of the Grand Inquisitor, a lot of the remaining Inquisitors saw their chance to claim the title for themselves. The 8th brother thus started to pursue the former Sith Lord Maul, whom he only knew as the Shadow. The 8th brother eventually pursued Maul to the Sith Ward of Malachor, where he hoped to capture or eliminate him. Upon arriving on Malachor, the 8th brother encountered Kanan, Ezra, and Ahsoka, but saw himself outnumbered after a short battle. He attempted to signal reinforcements, but before they could arrive, the 5th brother and 7th sister arrived independently, also hunting the rebels. The trio of Inquisitors then formed an alliance to eliminate their mutual enemies together. During the battle, the 8th brother attempted to use his double-bladed spinning lightsaber as an escape device, as it was revealed that they could use it to fly. However, his weapon had been damaged during the fight. As he activated it, the malfunctioning saber failed mid-flight, sending him plummeting to his apparent death in the depths of Malachor. Aside from the flying lightsaber thing, I actually always quite liked the 8th brother. He seemed slightly more competent to me, although he didn't achieve anything either. Maybe it was his rather acrobatic fighting style. But yeah, don't think I just want to talk badly about the Inquisitors for the sake of it. I actually really wish they were better, as I love their design. I even went out of my way to make a custom Lego 8th brother because I liked him so much in that last duel. The 9th sister, who was once a Jedi Knight known as Masana Tide, and is a female of the Dawatan species, she fell to the dark side after being captured and tortured by the Empire, breaking under the pressure and eventually joining the Inquisitorius. During her brutal training, Darth Vader inflicted his signature lesson of loss upon her, taking her left eye as a permanent mark of her new allegiance. On Mon Cala, she accompanied Vader and other Inquisitors to hunt down Padawan Farron Barr. However, when Barr activated the inhibitor chips in the clone purge troopers, the clones turned against the Inquisitors. In the ensuing chaos, the sixth brother betrayed the ninth sister, severing her leg to buy himself an opportunity to escape. Despite her injuries, she survived and was later fitted with a cybernetic replacement. Years later, the ninth sister was assigned to hunt Cal Kestis, joining the second sister to track him down. She eventually confronted Kestis on Kashyyyk, where they battled atop the massive origin tree. In the duel, Cal severed her right hand and also delivered a devastating slash to her back before finally force-pushing her off the massive tree. Against all odds, the ninth sister did survive the fall. Years later, she once again faced Cal Kestis, this time on Coruscant. In their final duel, Cal delivered a fatal strike across her chest. Although Cal tried to reason with her and remind her of her Jedi roots, the ninth sister was far too gone. Enraged, she made one last desperate charge at Cal, which he easily parried before beheading her, ending her tormented life. Tormented life is probably the truest statement out there. I don't think there's any other character that in literally every encounter she ever has loses some part of her body. She lost one eye, one leg, one arm, and finally her head. Guess she is quite a big target, but I found it rather funny that that's kind of her fate all the time, getting a random body part slashed off. The 10th brother was a blind Miraluka and was once the Jedi Master Proset Dibs. This made him probably the highest ranking Inquisitor, as he wasn't a mere Padawan or Knight. During the Clone Wars, Dibs accompanied Mace Windu and several other Jedis on a mission to the planet Hisrich. During the mission, after witnessing the countless lives lost during the battle, he openly started to voice his disapproval of the Jedi Order's involvement in the war, believing the Jedi had strayed from their principles. His discontent led him to attack Windu, though he was swiftly defeated and arrested by Windu. Proset Dibs was then brought before the Jedi High Council to face trial for attacking Mace Windu and accusing the Order of betraying its principles. Unwavering in his belief that the Jedi had become tools of war, he refused to repent and was found guilty of treason. While Dibs expected to be executed, Windu, recognizing the need for rehabilitation over punishment, advocated for mercy from the other council members. Instead, Dibs was placed on probation and assigned to work in the Jedi archives, where it was hoped he would reflect on his views. However, he remained defiant, taunting Windu as he left. The experience reinforced Windu's faith in the Jedi as guardians of the peace, despite his lingering concerns about the Order's future. After Order 66, with the fall of the Order, he abandoned the Jedi way and joined the Inquisitorius, taking on the title of the 10th Brother. As an Inquisitor, he participated in the mission to Mon Cala, where him and a few other Inquisitors pursued Farron Barr. The 10th Brother was caught off guard by the Purge troopers that were turned by Barr and was swiftly executed by the clones, making him one of the earliest confirmed Inquisitors to die during the reign of the Empire. The 11th Brother was an Inquisitor introduced in Tales of the Jedi. His true identity remains a mystery, as his name and history as a Jedi before the rise of the Empire have never been revealed. In Tales of the Jedi, the 11th Brother was sent to a remote farming village after the Empire received a tip about a Jedi hiding among the locals. That Jedi was Ahsoka Tano, who had returned to the village after delivering a harvest. When she arrived, she found the settlement all set on fire and the 11th Brother waiting for her. Recognizing Ahsoka immediately, the 11th Brother engaged her in battle. Despite his training, he was quickly outmatched by an unarmed Ahsoka, who managed to disarm him and kill him using his own lightsaber in one quick move. Also, quite strangely, after his death, his head appeared to deflate like a balloon, though the exact nature of this phenomenon remains unexplained. His design is certainly one of the best-looking ones out there. The 13th sister was once a Jedi Knight named Iskita Karis. As a Jedi, she was a Padawan when the war just broke out, even being present during the First Battle of Geonosis and witnessing her master being killed by a Geonosian soldier. After her master's death, she felt enraged and left alone, but due to the war and the need for more Jedi Knights, she, alongside her friend from youngling days, Tualon, a Twi'lek Jedi, and several other Jedis, including Anakin Skywalker, were granted the Jedi Knighthood together, thus making them independent of a Jedi Master. However, she was sent on very few missions on account of the Jedi Order, leaving her frustrated to not be able to take a bigger part in the war. During a short meeting with Chancellor Palpatine, she revealed to him her frustrations with the Order, making him aware of her susceptibility to the dark side. Throughout her time as a Jedi, she had grown a special bond with Tualon, who was always also there on the few missions she was able to participate in. After Order 66 was issued, she was spared by the clones on order of Palpatine and brought to Coruscant. There, the Grand Inquisitor made her the 13th sister, and she joined their ranks. During her time as an Inquisitor, one day a new recruit was brought in, who turned out to be none other than Tualon. After a short sparring fight with him, she realized that she had a feeling of affection for him. Years later, the two worked together on numerous missions, including the hunt for Jedi Master Eth Koth alongside Vader and the Fifth Brother. However, their growing bond became their downfall. Upon their return to Coruscant, Darth Vader, now that he had spent some time with them on the mission, sensed their forbidden connection and viewed their relationship as a betrayal. Without hesitation, he ignited his blade to strike the 13th sister down, but his blade was caught by Tualon. The two lovers managed to escape, and a chase ensued through the streets of Coruscant. The 13th sister and Tualon fought desperately, but they were ultimately no match for Vader. Vader caught up to them eventually and used the Force to lift them up and impale each other with their own lightsabers. Tualon Yulana was a Twi'lek whose Inquisitor designation remains unknown. Him and Isket had built a great friendship throughout the Clone Wars. When Order 66 was issued, Tualon and Isket were on the planet Frong to chase down a separatist leader who had destroyed a village. When the order came through, Isket was offered the chance to join Palpatine's cause, which meant leaving behind Tualon. She agreed, and Tualon was left to die as the clones opened fire on him. He survived the initial assault, however. Although wounded and full of hatred for the betrayal at the hands of Isket, his rage kept him alive. So the clones took him in and brought him to Coruscant as well. There, he was brutally tortured and turned into an Inquisitor upon the promise to get revenge on Isket. Upon their first meeting, they had a sparring match, which Tualon eventually won as Isket was temporarily distracted after rediscovering her feelings for him before being stabbed through the chest. She survived, though, and then they went on several missions together as Inquisitors to hunt down Jedi. Throughout their time, they started to develop a romantic bond, becoming lovers and keeping it a secret. Their final mission together would be to hunt for Eth Koth as Vader later discovers their relationship and ultimately kills them both for it. These two are probably some of the most fleshed out Inquisitors, and I actually quite like how original the story is. Two Jedis who always had a bond with each other but were forbidden to act upon their feelings due to the Jedi Code. And finally, after succumbing to the dark side, which tells you to embrace your feelings, they find their love for each other. Cheesy, yes, but I liked it. There's also an unnamed Inquisitor who adopted a teenage Dathomirian witch and wanted to train her as an apprentice, but she was killed by the apprentice after she deemed her master as too weak. And that's it. Every Inquisitor we know so far. Let me know whose story you liked the most. For me, it's split between the Grand Inquisitor and Trilla, but let me know yours.